Alright, guys. So I'm going to tell you an honest story. So you all probably remember somewhat I told you guys why I stopped smoking. But I'll tell you big reasons. So, reason being that I watched my grandfather die of lung cancer. My whole family watched my grandfather that was there die in his home of lung cancer. And I had to choose between stop smoking or continue to smoke and die. The same fate that he chose. And I realized at that point in my life, I had to choose. My grandfather had gone through trying to battle stopping for a long time. There were points and times in his life that he tried to battle it. He tried to fight as hard as he could between trying to stop smoking and wanting to go back. And he went back until he found out he had cancer, the worst stage of cancer, lung cancer. And he finally stopped until that fateful day, that very unfaithful day that he died. I found out that he was going to die. And I was not happy. And I knew. I knew how bad it was. Because when I was told it was going to take his life, I realized that it was bad enough that it shook me to my core. But watching him that day, that very unfaithful day, of having to watch him die in front of me, made me decide that I had to stop. And that's when I started dipping more. And it took me that day to realize that I'm sure my grandfather wouldn't want me to do either one. And I know my grandfather would never want me to either dip or smoke. And it was hard for me. Watching my grandfather die in front of me. Having to watch my grandfather take his last breath as he died in front of me because lung cancer took his life. I took my last cigarette and ashed it and said no more. I said no more. Because I realized at that point I wasn't going to be like him. I wasn't going to go like him. Now you're probably thinking, well, conservative, you're going to go a different way. You're going to go with lung cancer, or gum cancer, tooth loss, and your gums are going to start drooping and this, that, and the other. Sure, I guess, whatever. But it's slower. It'll kill me slower. Not faster, but slower. Sure, it'll probably kill me, but slower. Not as fast as what lung cancer will do, but it'll probably kill me slower, but not even better. But at the end of the day, it's not better for me, but it's worse. But it's still bad. But I'd rather do this than smoke. But this is why I always say I'd prefer this than smoking. And I'm happy I don't pick up a cigarette anymore. Because for me, watching my grandfather pass was a reminder to what I never want to do again. It's a reminder to remind me of a mistake I once made, and a mistake that he made that he never wants anyone to go through, and that he probably would never want anyone to ever have to go through. That hard decision of having to go through cancer, the nasty C word. And it's hard. It really is hard. And having to watch my grandfather pass away hurt me. Having to hold my grandfather's hand before he passed away deeply petrified me. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It mortified me beyond belief that I can't do that no more. I remember that very unfaithful day. I was outside. I was working in the garden. A hospice lady came out, or was going to come out, but it wasn't the hospice lady, it was my mother. And she told me, "Sweetheart, you better come in. Your grandfather doesn't have much time." I had my Carhartt overalls on and I had my work boots on. And I ran in the garage, took off my overalls and my boots. I prayed to God so hard, saying, "God, please give me little time. Give me as much time as I can get to get these overalls off and these boots off. Please. Just so I can say goodbye." Because I knew deep down I probably didn't have very much time. Because cancer was going to get him. Because it was coming to that time that it was going to get him. And I ran in. I said goodbye. I told him I loved him. I told him how much he meant to me as a grandfather. And I watched him take his last breath, leaving this earth, knowing that he will never pick up a cigarette again, that he'll never be able to watch me get married or watch his grandkids get married or have great grandkids. He's gone. It's over. He's gone. I couldn't believe it. I realized at that time it was over. It was over. That he was gone. Life had taken him. The Grim Reaper took him. Life was over. Because he smoked. All because of goddamn cancer. And yeah, I know I'm facing the same possible thing with cancer because of dip. But then, the same thing I realize in my mind. I know it may happen to me, that I may get cancer. I may get stomach cancer, I may get gum cancer. or lip cancer. But I realized something. I'm just thankful I'm not going to get lung cancer. I'm just thankful that day it taught me something. That I would never want to pick up a cigarette again. And that inspiration of never wanting to pick up a cigarette again continues to live on in my head today. And it reminds me that because I dip now, that's why dipping saved my life. That's why I chose to dip. Because it's saving me. Sure, I dip worse than I normally do. But it's helping me. It's helping me keep away from the cigarettes. It's helping me stay away from there. Because I honestly don't think I could ever smoke again. Because I don't think I could ever go back to cigarettes. Because as weak as cigarettes are, I wouldn't be able to get the same amount of nicotine that I do with cigarettes as I do with dip. Because dip, honestly, gives me the most nicotine. And I'm thankful that I get the most nicotine out of dip than I do cigarettes. I'm lucky that I'm not going to face the same fate as my grandfather. I'm thankful that I hopefully will never have to face the same fate as my grandfather. And I hope to God I never will. Because that is the most painful thing that I could ever imagine somebody ever having to go through. I really never wish that upon no one. Not even my worst enemy. Not even somebody that I dislike. Ever. I would never wish that upon anyone. I don't care who you are. I never wish that upon anyone. I never wish that nasty C word, cancer, on anyone. Because it's nasty. It sucks. I've never had it, never want it. And I can only imagine what people that have had it have gone through with it. Every day scared. Whether it's in remission, hoping and praying it stays in remission, or not sure if it's going to come back ever, or if it will ever stay in remission, or unsure. I know it's scary because my grandfather went through it. And I was there with my grandfather when he went through some of the chemo. And it was not fun. Watching my grandfather go through that pain and agony, I was scared for my grandfather. And the unsurety of how long my grandfather had was another thing that kept us wondering, how long would God give my grandfather? We would never know. But God gave my grandfather a long time. And we were thankful. All of us were thankful that my grandfather had enough time. We were very thankful. My grandfather was a good man. A very brilliant man. Hard-working man. He was a truck driver. A carpenter. But he smoked like a choo-choo train. He was a golfer too. He loved golf. But that pack of cigarettes got him. That's why I tell you guys and gals, don't smoke. Dip. Love you guys.